Think of a young black male whose name has been broadcasted all over the media that is not a musician or athlete. Go ahead. Could you please raise your hand if the young black male that you thought of has been killed? That's a problem. The problem that we have is the fact that we only discuss young black males and the problems that they're faced with once they die, which means one of them have to die for the conversation to begin as to how we can help them, which is a contradiction. And sometimes we do have these conversations, but when we have them, everybody is present except for one person, the young black male. What we need to do is create an environment where they're comfortable enough to lend us their voices so we can help them the best way possible. Me personally, I knew for a fact when I was younger that absolutely nobody wanted to hear anything I had to say or deal with me, specifically white women. The reason I say that is because in elementary school, in inner cities, it's usually a middle-class white woman that's the teacher in a room full of black kids. And the only time I could interact with her is when everybody would get punished for something a couple of students did, and I couldn't understand why I would get punished for something I didn't do unless you hated me. So in elementary school is when I developed a serious fear of white women. I remember in recess, I would put myself in timeout just so she couldn't do it. I would say to myself, what's the purpose of trying to have fun if I know it's going to be ruined for something that I didn't do? In middle school, I became distant. I would sit way in the back of the class and I wouldn't talk to anybody, so I couldn't develop any social skills. I was more so concerned about not making a teacher angry, but that still didn't work. So once I got to high school, I became very hateful and disrespectful towards every single white woman that I met. It got so bad that I had to get removed from Columbus Public Schools. Once I got to a charter school, I met this white woman. I used to try and say things to piss her off, but it wouldn't work. I couldn't figure her out. But one day, I got under her skin. And she has said to me, Donte, stop bitching and complaining and get off your ass and do what you need to do. You can graduate, you just need to apply yourself. I said, whoa. If it isn't the queen of evil white women. But I thought about what she had said to me, and I said, wait a second. At the end of that, she said, I can do it, I just need to apply myself. That was the very first time a white woman ever said I could do anything. So I went back to her and I said, you know what, I'm ready to graduate. So with her help, I was able to accumulate 2 years worth of credits in 6 months and go on to graduate high school. After that whole experience, I said to myself, hey, white women ain't that evil after all. So because of her, she unlocked the student that lied dormant inside of me. So I wanted to honor that. I decided to go to college. One of the first college classes I took was Intro to Sociology. I remember walking in my classroom and I looked around. I was the only black person in there and I was like, oh, no. Then I looked at my professor. He was this super professional white guy wearing a tie. And I was like, I was like, maybe I'm being a little skeptical. Let me see what this man has to say. So he introduces himself and he was like, I was a police officer and I worked in the court system. Now, if you know anything about young black men, if you are a police officer or you work in the court system, you are not our friend, okay? So after that, I shut down. I said to myself, I hate you. I hate this class. I'm going to go to the back, and I'm going to fail. Peace. So I was prepared to do that. One day, we were going over slides, and it was talking about how African Americans are affected by poverty more than anybody else. And it was describing the characteristic of robbers. And it said that 90% are male, 65% are under the age 25, and 57% are black. This is when all the white people in the class did this to me. I said to myself, wait a second, so the only time y'all can see me is when statistics say I'm gonna rob you? Okay, that's fine. So after that, I went up to my professor and I told him, you know what, I really don't like that. And it's other things that are going on in these neighborhoods that they don't know about. And I wish they could see that. So when I told him that, he actually did something about it. Every single time a slide would come up and we would start to discuss African Americans, he would stop and say, hey, Donte, what do you think about that? And I would say what I thought about it. Little did he know, him giving me the opportunity to speak, he was deprogramming me from deciding to be isolated and not speak to anyone and reprogramming me to feel comfortable to speak in environments full of people that I usually wouldn't speak to. So after his class was over with, I said, wow, the same exact guy that I perceived to be racist and would probably lock me up for the rest of my life gave me more freedom of speech than anybody else ever has. I guess white guys that are police officers and work with the court system ain't that bad. Wow. So I liked him so much that I took way too many of his classes and messed my financial aid up. And since I couldn't take any more of his classes, we actually started working together. So one of the people that I actually met through him was a pastor that did a lot of ministry in a high crime area. He was this tall, white, skinny, old guy. And I remember the very first time we met, we were sitting in a circle and we were all coming up with ways to connect with the community a lot better than what was already going on. So the pastor stands up and he says, there was a shooting the other day. We're going to pass out cold sodas and we're going to get to know the people a lot better. I said, whoa. You mean to tell me your solution to stopping people from shooting each other is to pass out cold soda? You stupid. And then the news crew shows up and they're like, hey, we're here to follow you guys around. And I was like, y'all gonna record us passing out cold sodas, the people that could potentially shoot us? Y'all stupid too. So we're walking on the street and the pastor finds the most dangerous, thuggish group of black guys you could ever find in your life. And he just walks up to them and he goes, hey, you guys want a cold soda? And I said to myself, like, oh, we about to die. Well, we didn't die. At that moment, I said, wait a second. I see what he's doing. He's not passing out cold soda. This is his way of interacting and breaking the wall down, talking to young black males in a way nobody else could, because most people feared them. And something else I recognized at that moment as well is the fact that I did not like young black males. As he was doing exactly what I wanted people to do for me, I had a problem with it. All I could say was, hey, they're going to get themselves killed anyway. They ain't worth it. They don't respect what you're doing. They're just going to take it and go on about their lives. And then I said to myself, if I can look at them like that, and I never met them, and I'm so sure about what I'm saying, that means that everybody's right when they look at me the same exact way. I realized I was the biggest hypocrite walking. And I went to the pastor and I said, hey, pastor, you know what? I want to give these guys a place where they can come that is not out on the streets so we can talk to them and give them something else to do. And he has said to me, Donte, whatever you need, let me know. So we started the group, and we had grown men, young men, teenagers, everybody was coming. And it was great. It was one boy specifically that really stood out. He had a lot of influence over a lot of the younger boys. They really enjoyed his presence. And one day he didn't show up to the group, but I really didn't think anything of it because it was normal for people to not show up. But one day I had woke up, I cut the news on to see that he was murdered. At that moment, I said to myself, what can I do? I have all of these boys looking at me as an example, and one of the most influential ones that could reach them is dead. Then I thought to myself, Donte, just do what every single person has done for you. Give these boys a voice. So what I did was start documenting a lot of the things that the boys would say to me and some of the conversations we would have. And they would talk about growing up in a neighborhood and some of the things that they think about. Here's a short clip of some of the stuff I've been able to gather so far.
I done lost too many of my friends just in 1 year.
What do you think will make this neighborhood better?
Me getting out of here.
Me, I just stay out the way.
Cause I could got shot.
Why would somebody need a gun?
Protect themselves.
I don't know my dad.
Coming home when it ain't nothing to eat.
Damn near everybody out here in this neighborhood has been shot at least once.
No, like this where I live.
So do you think if you stay here too long, somebody might kill you?
Yeah.
That's just 30 seconds. And what bothers me is the fact that those boys will probably die first before anybody heard everything that they just said. All of the people that done something for me, they didn't do anything too extravagant. They didn't donate $2 billion. They weren't a part of some major organization trying to save the world. All they did was give me a voice and remind me that I was human. So when it comes to young black males, make sure you talk to us and not about us. And if you do talk about us, make sure we're still alive so we can hear exactly what it is you have to say. Thank you.